Hey everyone, welcome again to our walk through the Bible on this Friday, where we look at one book, one verse at a time. It's time for another short thought on life, on faith, and on God. So today we continue our journey through the Bible, and we move from kind of a section or a completed section. The first 5 books of the Bible form what's called the Pentateuch, and they prepare God's people, or they prepare these people that God had particularly chosen out of all the rest to help bring redemption and wholeness back to the world after we have messed it up in the Garden of Eden, or in that amazing initial creation. He prepared these people to enter into a place that he was bringing them, the promised land, a space where they would be able to be his people, he could be their God, where kind of relationships could be renewed. But there's this sense at the end of the Pentateuch, and we talked about this last time, there's this sense that things are not always going to go all that well. And now as we move into the book of Joshua, we actually see the people move from the wilderness into this place and to begin to settle down. Now this might be a bit of a moral issue for us, and in fact it should be a bit of a moral issue for us, because in order for the people of God, or for these Israelites, to be able to go into the promised land, they have to get rid of the people that are already there. And we have to remember that the God that instructs these people to come in and to clear out those who were there in order to make space for themselves, that's the same God that has already given them instructions about how to look after the non-citizen, and how to help those who are helpless, and how to leave the corners of their fields unharvested so that the poor would be able to have something to eat. So this is a kind and a gracious God, and the reason that's given for these people having to be removed is that their sin has reached its full measure. Basically, they need to be punished. And that's such a hard one for our culture to grasp. And that's essentially what I trust. God is basically saying that they've become so bad, so evil, that they need to be removed. They need to be punished. And I mean, there was stories in the scriptures about human sacrifice and infanticide, about killing their children, and the ways in which they followed these other religious practices actually caused all kinds of pain and heartache for those who are there. And so I trust that that's the reason. It doesn't make it necessarily easier, and the key of this book, though, I don't think necessarily relates to that. The key to this book, I think, shows up right at the end. It shows up at a time in which Joshua is giving his last instructions to the people, much like Deuteronomy was Moses giving his last instructions to the people. And it echoes a lot of the things that has been going on in this book. Essentially, there's this question: are these people who tended to wrestle with God and not necessarily agree with him or follow him in the wilderness, are they going to follow him in this new place that he is bringing them, especially when things start to go well? And that's the challenge that Joshua gives at the end. So this is Joshua chapter 24, verses 14 and 15. I know I'm cheating. I'm doing 2 verses. I've done that for the last little bit, but you get my point. We'll look at a couple of verses. So verse 14. Now fear or honor the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods of your forefathers that worshipped beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable for you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your forefathers served beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, Joshua says, we will serve the Lord. Choose. Choose to follow. Choose to trust. Choose to do things even though you think they're weird. Choose to know and to trust that this person that you are following is the one that is going to give you the things that he has promised. And don't try to figure out your own ways. Don't try to gather things for yourself. Don't try to earn your own way into something, but trust and choose to follow. I think that's a challenge for all of us, because we need to remember that You can't just kind of go through life, and particularly now when we need to be intentional about connecting with the Christian community and worshiping a lot more than we maybe used to when we could just show up to church services. It's important for us to choose, to actually choose to follow, and to be honest about whether we are or not. So if this has been helpful for you, if you've enjoyed this walk through the various books of the Bible, I encourage you to like and subscribe as we continue on this journey, and comment down below on some of the ways in which you've been wrestling with these different kinds of issues, or the ways in which you've been satisfied and seen and chosen to trust in God.